All right, so here is another one of your cards. So you should have a bigger piece of crumb cake than this. I gave you guys enough to do 2 each of your sand dollar and your starfish. Okay, and you should also have a piece big enough to stamp a couple of shells on your paper. Now, if you choose to set it up on your Stamparatus according to the die, like I showed in another video, you probably will have to add a little of your own white cardstock, okay? All right, so what you're going to need for this one, for designer series paper, is you want to find, it's easier for me to find these 2 patterns. Okay, we're going to use these sides, but you want these 2 patterns, and we want them to be 4 by 3. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I made my columns 4 inches wide, and so now I know I can just chop off 3 inches off the bottom of that strip. Okay, and we'll find this one at 3. Like that. Okay. All right. So that's what you need for that. And you have your white card base. So in another class, we did something called a rip and flip, where it was 1 piece of designer series paper and we saw both sides. This time we're going to use 2 different ones, and we're only going to tear one of them. So this one can go right onto your card front. Okay, well, it can if you have it cleaned and ready. Okay, there it goes. All right. Okay, there. Now, for this piece, what you're going to do is, you can see you've got close to 1 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch overlap. So you don't want to rip a lot, but you do have some room, okay? Plus we're going to be putting shells on there, so if you go too low and you see white, we can just cover it with shells, no worries. When you're tearing, you want to pull towards yourself, and you want to keep moving your hands down. One is doing the work, one is just holding the paper, but you want to move both of them, okay? So that you don't end up, because if you just pull to tear, what's going to happen is the tear is going to find the grain in the paper that causes the path of least resistance, and that's where it's going to tear. It's not going to tear where you want it to go. All right, so there's that. Now, not sure where my sponge, so this has a little bit of crumb cake ink. I'm not going to go get more. I just want to kind of, I like the white because it kind of reminds me of that sand and stuff, but I'm just going to kind of disguise it a little bit with a little bit of crumb cake ink just along the edge, so that it gives that like white bubbly foam sort of impression. Okay, so you can still see the difference. It's not the same as this, but it's not stark white either. Okay, so let's get some adhesive on that piece. Like this. Okay, there we go. Oh, and I want to use this Friends Are Like Seashells again. You can put any greeting you want. And I'm going to stamp it in the soft suede because I'm going to stamp our starfish and the sand dollar in the soft suede as well. So that will tie in nicely. Now, one of the other reasons I like to use a nice dark brown like soft suede or early espresso, sometimes I want a nice dark color, but I don't necessarily want it to be black. Okay, so sometimes it's nice to have that there. So then on your crumb cake, you can stamp. Now you'll be doing 2, all right, because you're going to be making 2 of each, but I'm just making the 1, so I'm just going to make 1, and you'll be glad because then you won't have to watch me cut forever. Okay, I should have probably done that before. Okay, so we're just going to cut out, and it doesn't even, it can be pretty rough. Just give yourself a little bit there. Now, if you have the dies and you want to use them, go right ahead. Do not need to fussy cut if you have the dies and you want to use them. I just wanted to show people that if you didn't happen to have the dies, you can still very easily do all of these cards. And I'm going to include a sort of a welcome video and one that shows some other samples and how they did them. Some of them will use the dies and the embossing folder. Okay. All right. Let me real quick give our little starfish here a quick cut. Then I'm going to go back and use some of my other shells, I think. So we don't have to sit here forever fussy cutting. And you can use whichever shells you want to do. Okay. I happen to choose crushed curry because So Saffron seemed a little light for those shells. What I could have done was stamp in the So Saffron and then just sort of sponged on a little bit of crushed curry in strategic places so that they would show up nicely. Okay, but let me just show you what it looks like when we add the other shells. Okay, so we've got that. Oh, and this one used to dip the other greeting, the happy birthday greeting. But so I did the big shell in Flirty Flamingo, and then I did the other one with So Saffron first, and then I added some crushed curry to it. All right, the only one that's up on dimensionals is my starfish, but you can do, you know, it's your card. Tell people that all the time. It's your card. You get to make it whatever way you want. So that is your 4th card, but you will make 8 total. So you'll make 2 of each card, and I hope you enjoy them. Thanks, guys.